Yo, what's up everybody? I wanted to welcome you to the most beautiful fairy-like garden in all of Aurora. We are at my upcoming listing. It's 32 West 482 Forest Drive in Aurora, Illinois. This is my beautiful friend Stephanie and the owner. And Stephanie, when I came here last, gave me a whole bunch of fruit and veggies to eat. They're all delicious. And they're from her 1.5 acre garden. So we're gonna go around and check it out. This is Stephanie.
Hi.
Anything, you ready?
Sure, let's go for a walk.
Cool, I'm gonna follow you.
Okay.
Here we go, y'all. Let me turn this around and we'll follow you.
Okay. So I usually start my tours back here. So the one thing I really like about this house and this yard is that the garage and house are separate. And so you do get this nice breezeway that I always kind of envisioned turning into a 3 seasons room eventually. It's also a great place to put my house plants in the summer. So I have pretty much planted almost every inch of this yard, at least to an extent. So I put in these hydrangeas along the back because I have the townhouses behind me and I'm just kind of creating a green screen back here. So eventually those will fill in so you'll have some privacy. Kind of the entire vision for this yard was to create like a secret garden. So just to wall in all around it so you had privacy while having a garden. Throughout the tour you'll see these flags in the yard, and so I put those in to where I planted young and small trees, or where I found young and small trees that I want to grow. So this is a shagbark hickory. I also installed some arborvitae. So again, these are going to be nice evergreens that are going to block this space. I planted 25 elderberries, which is this right here, which is a native tree to Illinois. Another evergreen green screen I put in is I have these Canadian hemlocks along the back, which won't interfere with utility lines overhead, which is really nice. This back fence is mine, and I'm letting the grapevines take over. Again, to give privacy to both the townhouses in the back and to my property. I planted these staghorn sumac here in a couple different places. Again, they're gonna fill in and still give that sense of privacy. This is the back side of the vegetable garden this year. The vegetable garden is probably 50 feet by 60 feet or so. I have 10 tomato plants, 10 bell peppers, I have jalapeno peppers, white, night, eggplant, many different types of squash, pumpkins, watermelon, bottle gourds, patty pan squash, loofah sponges, acorn squash, many different types of sunflowers, 3 different types of cucumbers, and I think that's most of it, and many different types of peas. So here along the property line, my neighbor also appreciates a beautiful landscape. So I was going to install gardens back here, so that's why it's being prepped right now.
My friend Jordan says, I love using plants and trees for natural privacy.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
It's fun to walk around in the nude, right?
So along this bed, this is where I started planting because, again, this is where his family spends their time. So to give us both privacy, so I planted, these are hollyhocks here, which are perennials, and I have a bunch of different milkweed. So I'm waiting for, and I've seen some monarch butterflies come in, so we should be getting more of those pretty soon. This is not supposed to be here. This is actually a red mulberry. That's a selection from George Ware at the Morton Arboretum. It's pretty neat because it has these really beautiful, uniquely shaped leaves. And my plan was, the reason why it kind of looks unruly is I wanted to grow horizontal, so it'd be a neat climbing tree. It just reminded me, my Aunt Bev had a horizontally growing mulberry tree on her farm. And so I was kind of recreating that in my yard because it was always fun to go visit. I do see some annuals back here, so I have castor beans and amaranth growing back here, but I have some bottle brush buckeye, which will also fill in this space. This is a forsythia that I started from a cutting, which will be beautiful yellow flowers in the spring. More bottle brush buckeye. And then all along here, I started planting ferns, and I was going to do hostas and other shade-loving plants all along this. So this is all going to be planted into beds. So this is, I've just been prepping this for the last few years. So going along this side of the property, I planted some American plums, which are some of these smaller trees. And then I do have some, these are little red buds that I actually got from my mom's yard. And so my property, actually this tree that's leaning a little bit towards the end, I own half that tree. So that's where the property line essentially is. Then along the road here, again, planted American plums along the left side, and then I have evergreens kind of mixed in over here.
All right, give me a sec. And I don't know how these, I don't know how they can hear you. Would you talk more towards me?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I'm not sure if picking up. I just thought about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, if anything, we can always do Bluetooth, and I don't know. Anyways, so have all these American plums planted along the front, which will be really nice green shrubs. And then let's go this way.
Okay.
You have to figure out which trail you want to take. And so this yard in many ways is my childhood dream of having my own trail system and just being able to get lost out in green space. I have planted some Norway spruce up right in here where that flag is. So again, that'll fill out over time. I have this nice little white pine right here that'll fill in. Again, the neighbors that I have here to the south they're all fantastic neighbors, and we agree that we appreciate each other, but we just don't want to see each other.
Yo, and for you guys who are watching, this is like in the middle of, it was built up all around here just recently, and this is like a blast from the past. Like this one strip of street is 1982. They didn't age with the rest of us folk.
It didn't. So this is actually one really exciting thing with, so I've been here, I just had my 3-year anniversary in this house. And I'm waiting. It's been really neat seeing what native plants are just popping up that have been mowed off over the years. And so I do have a lot of native grasses, which is fantastic. I've been doing invasive species management, but this is actually cup plant, which is a really common prairie plant. And it just showed up this year, and I was really, really excited. And the other thing that I really love is I have plenty of young oak trees that are regenerating here in my yard. So this just naturally came up. This is actually about 3 years old, but where you see a lot of the orange and red flags, that's where I found young trees, because all the trees here on this property are roughly the same age. And so I'm trying to underplant and get things staggered. So we have a diversity of ages and species.
Beautiful.
So the neat thing about the trails is, like, at this point you're kind of entering the forested area. So half of the lot is pretty shaded. The soil's pretty dry, and the other half is the sunny grassy areas. So you can see here I planted some ferns here and there. I have many different ornamental plants. So actually here, like I have Jack in the Pulpit. So this is a Jack in the Pulpit seed head. I have Lenten Rose or Helleborus planted in many places.
And how do you know all this information? What do you do?
So I am a plant pathologist and an arborist and a botanist. So I pretty much dedicated my life to plants and plant health and growing plants. So yeah, plants are pretty much what I do.
Beautiful.
I have many different types of hostas. So these are some of my bigger hostas. But I brought all these with me when I moved here and transplanted them. I have May apples over here, which are always fun to find in the spring. And then this is a pagoda dogwood. So you take this trail in, you get to the fire pit area. So I put it in this location. So when you have a fire going, there's sand underneath, so it's not going to cook the tree roots, and it's going to keep the trees healthy and happy. It's been a great place that, yeah, as I have debris come down, I can have bonfires, and it's a really nice space. You can sit out here. In the evenings, it's super dark and really quiet. You don't hear Interstate 88 from here. In the evenings, you will hear New York Avenue, but pretty much after 8 p.m., it is really, really quiet and dark. This is probably the best tree on the property. This is the white oak. But as far as like growth form and health and everything, like hands down the best tree on this entire property. I love it. So over here on the right, you will see that I have some dead plants here and there. Again, I've been doing invasive species management. So getting rid of the multiflora rose, the buckthorn, honeysuckle, Callery pear, all those. So it's not overrun with all of that garbage. I'm trying to keep it and recreate the Illinois prairie and Illinois forests as much as possible. Obviously with some ornamental plantings here and there. So this is actually my tiny little tree nursery right here, where I have Norway spruce, concolor fir, white pines, and shagbark hickories. And they were just too small when I got them to plant out, so I just wanted to keep an eye on them. So they're ready to be used to create green screens. This block right here is actually a 1-year-old prairie. So I prepped it last year and started planting seeds. So you can see that leucanthemum is coming up. Actually, I have some small oak trees. I have Rebecca. I have a bunch of other things that are filling in.
Is it called Rebecca Davison? My friend Rebecca Davis loves farming, or not farming, but
Gardening.
gardening. Yeah.
Sure.
Sorry, that was a joke for her.
Oh, got
She'll
it.
be watching later.
Oh, cool. Well, I hope she enjoys it.
Yo, Rebecca Davis, that
You
was
lost me there for
that was
a
that was a
second.
shitty joke for you, Rebecca.
This is Coreopsis or tick seed. And so in this next plot, this is actually my 2-year-old prairie. So these plants are much more established. I have pale coneflower, I have regular coneflower, salvia, I have rattlesnake master, I have prairie drop seed, I have butterfly weed with the orange flowers. All of these plants here, these are all leucanthemum that they just lodged over recently, but they're fine. I'm just letting them grow so they can photosynthesize because they're still green. This is rattlesnake master. I was actually really excited when he showed up. I do have this random redbud. I don't know where he came from, but I'm glad he's here. And then actually the other plant that I was really excited about this year was this one over here. So this is Monarda or bee balm, which you can see the bee right here. And so he also showed up right up there with the cup plant. So I was really excited about that. But the prairie is really becoming established. All of these little green plants here are all prairie plants that are filling in. So you don't have to worry about really weed management because it'll all be overgrown with prairie plants anyways. And the nice thing too is that the prairie plants are low maintenance because they're native to Illinois. So if we get a drought, you don't have to worry about watering it. I haven't watered it once this year, and it's doing great. This front bed up here is a little bit more ornamental. You can see that I have the castor beans, which I love because they look kind of just alien a little bit, but they're just fantastic. I did elephant ears up here last year and they looked really great. These poor guys right here, they're a little drought stressed, so that's why they're having some problems. But you can look at this little balloon flower down here. But yeah, all these daylilies, some nice irises. These are the 4 o'clocks right here, so they actually self-seeded. And they'll open up later in the day and they're a beautiful splash of color in the afternoon when you come home from work. And then I have, these are actually dwarf Joe Pye weed. And so these start flowering now. So it's kind of like later in the end tail of summer, you get this nice splash of color when a lot of other things have finished blooming. Then coming over here onto the east side of the property, I have planted, there's more elderberries and 9-bark right here that I planted. So those that went in last spring, so they're established, they're doing well. I haven't watered them this year. And this is the pear tree. This pear tree is phenomenal. It takes zero maintenance. I don't spray anything on it. These are called Kefir pears, Keiffer, and they'll be ready in mid-October. And so they are a crunchy, juicy, sweet pear. And they're really great for canning. That's why they're crunchy, is that when you can them, you heat them up. And they actually, if you buy a can of pears, these taste exactly like that. My mom and I have had a lot of fun trying to preserve them in different ways, like pear bread. I've made rum pears, where you blanch them in simple syrup and then put spiced dark rum over them and put them and can them. Just canning them straight. We've tried all sorts of things. It's been a lot of fun. They have a long shelf life, so you don't have to worry about eating them right away. These little shrubs here, right here, these are cephalanthus or button bush, which will be filling this space too. But this kind of mass right here, these are black raspberries, and they are delicious. Come early July, this whole area is just loaded with black raspberries, where you can kind of sit here and eat until you're full and then get out a quart jar and like put more in a quart jar. There's so many. And it's just a delight for 2 to 3 weeks. So we kind of share this. Neighbor over here and I share this space. So we both appreciate the berries and take care of them. My other fruit trees here, I planted my apples and my peach last year. So this is a Suncrisp apple. And so it'll probably flower and start fruiting maybe next year, the year after. Usually they take 3 to 5 years to start fruiting. But I planted this red Jonathan over here because the Suncrisp needs something else to pollinate it. So what you can do eventually is actually graft branches onto each other. And so you'll have easy pollination. But this handsome gentleman over here, this is my peach tree. I got this tree from the Arbor Day Foundation. I started orchard pruning him, so hopefully doesn't get taller than about 6 feet. So he doesn't become unruly. You're not gonna have an absurd amount of fruit. So it's very much more manageable. This is my first year of pruning him, so he still looks kind of like an awkward teenager, but he'll easily be trained, no problem. So coming over here, this is one of my 2 linden trees, and when this thing flowers, it smells amazing over here. It is the most wonderful fragrance of most of the Illinois native trees. So this is another 9 bark. These are all 9 barks in here. Again, Sherry and I agreed that we really appreciate each other. She's a fabulous neighbor, but we like having our green screen privacy and just visiting each other every once in a while. I do have some more hostas over here, but more interestingly, in here, where people who don't know plants very well might just look at it as, oh, this is just a bunch of wasted space. But what I have here is I have a Solomon seal here that I planted. I also have some wild ginger and bloodroot, but you can see some of those here. So these will be nice understory. And then all these plants in here, these are all violets, which are actually the Illinois state flower. And I probably have 6 different colors of violets. It's really, really neat. You can see, again, I'm doing invasive species management here and there. This is my red oak. And this is my black walnut. And this is the highlight. This is the highlight of all the plant stuff this year, is this plant right here. I have a pawpaw growing in my yard.
Is that marijuana?
No, it's a Asmina
triloba.
So pawpaws are a really cool tree because they're the only members of their family, which is the Annoniaceae, which is the custard apple family that survives in temperate climates. And so its fruit, which looks like a giant kidney bean, the fruit tastes like vanilla, what's the description? Vanilla mango custard. It is amazing. So a couple years or 2 years ago, I had a bunch of couple dozen pawpaw seeds, And I just actually just threw them over here. I'm like, well, let's see what happens. This is what happens in nature. And I found my first pawpaw. So this is definitely a highlight. Here's another young oak tree that's coming up. So they'll grow up together. Oh, I have another pawpaw. I have 2 pawpaws. This is great because you need more than one in order to pollinate. So here, you have the whole thing. You're gonna have fruit, which is super cool. These 2 are also lindens, also beautiful and fragrant. All of these shrubs in here, all along the back, I also planted. And for people who forage, this spring, right in this area, I actually found ramps, which are relatives to onions. So foragers really like finding them in the spring. So this property has ramps, which is really, really cool. So I have a young elm, there's a young oak. These are 9 barks that I planted. There's more Solomon seal that I planted. Some ferns. This is another elderberry. The American plum that I planted back there. And then my plan here along the back. I love looking back in my yard. It's so pretty. So along here, this is the north side of the house. So it was my plan again to plant trees along this backside. So last year I planted silky dogwoods, and unfortunately the rabbits chewed a lot of them off, but 2 of them made it. Actually, before you get to the silky dogwoods, right in here you see the sedum, but in the spring there's tulips right in this area. So you'll have some really nice tulips. This is 1 of 2 of the silky dogwoods. And so again, they will fill in, and so you'll give the privacy back here. And then right behind Marty are these 4 red buds that I planted. So you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, in the summer, it'll give you a nice green screen back here. Because this window here is the master bedroom. This is the living room, or the office, or one of the bedrooms. Sorry. The master bedroom, what I call the office, but it's one of the bedrooms. Then the living room, and then actually the bathroom. So I have the red buds, and then these are more 9 barks that I filled in just to fill in the space. These hostas back here, I was actually going to transplant over to the west side of the property. They look a little tough right now because they are getting too much sun. I have a couple of these. These are perennial mums, and they flower in the early fall, and they're a beautiful carnation pink. And these here are irises, which are beautiful dark purple blue when they flower. Another 9 bark, and I have some ornamental grasses here. And then I have this ground cover sedum. This little red oak, I wouldn't leave him here. That's not a good spot for him. We have some liriope or monkey grass, and the monkey grass is neat because you get these nice little purple flowers. And if you want, you can actually use it like grass and mow it like grass if you have a shaded area that doesn't grow grass. This is creeping thyme, which smells really nice. Smell.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah. So that's really nice. Let's go back. So I do have an antenna. So I do get local TV stations. I actually don't have cable, so I just rely on that.
You speak to the aliens with that thing?
You know what? I bet if you try hard enough.
What about the weather? Does it forecast the weather for you?
Only if I have a magic 8-ball. So the other neat thing in this area is I get some trillium up over here in the spring. So again, native spring ephemerals. And so I have some, these are lily of the valley. They're not doing very well because it's too dry of a spot for them, so they need to be moved. But right in this area right here, more trillium will come up. And then this bed is mostly spring ephemerals. So right when you drive into the house in the spring, this is kind of an explosion of flowers. But before you get to that, over here on the right side of the house, I have Japanese painted ferns that I brought with me. I have this oak leaf hydrangea that is doing fantastic. This is Sweet William, which is another ground cover. And the Helleborus, I think this is a dark purple, almost black. Solomon seal, and then you have the phlox. And it's really great because you can sit in the living room and watch hummingbirds visit the phlox. Between hummingbirds and like swallowtail butterflies, they just come, and it's just, my cat's cat tree is right in front of this window, so really it's cat TV. So here are your weeds that you tried pulling. So these are two roses. This one's a little bit showier, but this one is incredibly fragrant. Go ahead, smell it.
Nice.
Yeah. Most of this is 4 o'clocks, which again are annuals. So this can be empty next year. I have more Rudbeckia and the sedum. This right here is a Little Kim lilac that I inherited with the house. And if you're not familiar with Little Kim lilacs, they are incredibly fragrant. It makes sense. This window right here is right in front of the kitchen sink. And so in the spring, you'll have the window open and all that fragrance just comes in the kitchen, and it's really lovely. Here I have some pink anemone, which is really nice. It'll be kind of a carnation pink, and it flowers in the fall. So this front bed, this is where most of my different types of hostas are. And these hostas are kind of modern selections of hostas. So people who are like, oh, hostas, because we got sick of them from the 80s and 90s, which is kind of where this house is from. These are more modern selections. I have all the paperwork on what they are. But more Lenten rose. I have pink and white bleeding hearts, more dwarf Joe Pye weed. These are all bloodroot. So beautiful kind of daisy looking flower in the spring. And I have this witch hazel who I think he's just not happy where he's at. So that's why he's kind of struggling. What do you think? Over here, I did do some landscaping. Some of it, when I first moved in, I just brought so many plants with me. On one Sunday afternoon, I dug and planted 109 plants.
Oh, wow.
So I put in some of this right here. These get really beautiful blue, like cornflower blue flowers in the spring, which is really nice. A lot of this, again, this is invasive species management. You can see all the dead honeysuckle, which is good. But in this area, there was a trillium I found, but you do get more trillium over here. So again, it's like going to a forest preserve. You get to see those spring ephemerals, which are really nice. They're beautiful, they're native, they don't take any management. Over here, I planted, this is actually wild ginger. So I'm hoping that he'll start taking over this area. And then here is columbine that showed up. And then I inherited this lamb's ear with the house. But all of this is invasive species management. So you buy this property, which you should. It's nice because you're not going to be handed a mess of like weed garbage plants. They're much more selected than that. And really, I think one of my favorite things about my house is that it feels like you're in the North Woods of Wisconsin on kind of a camping trip. So I sit out here by my bonfire and enjoy the evening, and it just feels like you're camping.
Yo, it's amazing. Thank you for the tour.
You're welcome.
So you guys, I want to let you know that Stephanie would never be moving if she didn't get her dream job. You know, she was planning on living here, and separating with this place is pretty emotional for her. And this is beautiful. I'm glad she was able to take her time and give us this tour. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
No, I love this place. I would live here forever. But yep, got the dream job, so I'm going to Texas.
Yeehaw.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.